The keeper of my stars. The first time I saw Mira, she was arguing with a street vendor over the price of mangoes. Her hands were on her hips, her dark hair spilling over her shoulders like a cascade of midnight, and her voice carried a fire that made the bustling market seem quiet. It was a humid June afternoon in 1998, in a small coastal town where the air smelled of salt and possibility. I was 26, a shy accountant with a penchant for order, and she was everything I wasn't: bold, unapologetic, alive in a way that made the world feel brighter. I didn't dare approach her that day. Instead, I watched from the edge of the market, clutching my briefcase, pretending to check my watch. But fate, or maybe Mira's knack for rewriting destiny, had other plans. The next week, she walked into the library where I spent my evenings, her arms full of books she'd borrowed and clearly never read, judging by their pristine pages. She plopped them on the counter, grinned at me, and said, "You look like someone who knows the difference between a good story and a great one. Recommend me something." I stammered through a suggestion, some classic novel I thought sounded safe, but she laughed, a sound like wind chimes, and said, "No, tell me your story." I didn't have one, not really. My life was ledgers and routines, not adventures. But Mira saw something else, something worth coaxing out. That was the start. We spent months dancing around each other. Coffee dates turned into long walks along the beach, where she'd kick off her sandals and run into the waves, daring me to follow. I did reluctantly, my shoes soaked and my heart racing. She told me about her dreams: to travel the world, to paint murals that told stories, to live a life that felt like art. I told her about my fears: losing control, failing, being alone. She listened, her eyes soft but never pitying, and somehow I felt seen. When I proposed, it was nothing grand. I couldn't afford a ring yet, so I offered her a seashell we'd found on one of our walks, polished smooth by the tide. I was terrified she'd laugh or say no, but she took the shell, pressed it to her heart, and said, "This is better than diamonds." We married in a small garden ceremony, surrounded by wildflowers and a handful of friends. Her dress was simple, her smile radiant, and when she vowed to love me through every storm and sunrise, I believed her. Life with Mira was a tapestry of color and chaos. She'd paint late into the night, her hands smudged with color, leaving streaks on my shirts when she hugged me. I'd grumble about the mess, but secretly El System secretly loved it, her passion filling the cracks in my orderly world. Our tiny apartment became a gallery of her dreams, canvases of starry skies and ocean waves, each one a piece of her soul. I'd watch her work, marveling at how she turned blank spaces into stories, and I'd wonder how I'd earned a place in hers. But love, even the truest kind, isn't immune to life's weight. 5 years into our marriage, I was diagnosed with a chronic illness, a rare condition that drained my energy and filled our days with hospital visits. I tried to stay strong, but the fear of becoming a burden gnawed at me. Mira never wavered. She'd sit by my bedside, reading aloud from my favorite books, her voice steady, even when her eyes betrayed her worry. One night, when I broke down, confessing I felt like I was failing her, she climbed into the hospital bed beside me, her arms fierce around me. "You are not my burden," she whispered. "You are my home." She took on everything: work, bills, my care, without complaint, though I saw the toll it took. Her paintings grew darker, stormier, but she never stopped creating. One evening, I found her crying in the kitchen, a half-finished canvas smeared with angry reds. "I'm scared," she admitted, her voice small, "not of losing you, but of you losing yourself." That night, we made a pact: to fight together, to find joy in the small moments, to keep our story alive. Recovery was slow, but Mira was my anchor. She'd drag me to the beach on good days, insisting the sea air would heal me faster. She'd paint my portrait when I slept, capturing a strength I didn't feel. She took a job teaching art to kids, her laughter returning as she shared their messy masterpieces with me. "They're braver than I am," she'd say, her eyes bright again. Years later, when I was strong enough to return to work, we faced another storm, her mother's sudden illness. Mira flew across the country to care for her, leaving me with a quiet house and a heart full of gratitude. We spoke every night, her voice crackling through the phone, telling me about her mother's stubborn spirit and her own childhood memories. When her mother passed, I flew to her side, holding her as she grieved. "You're my strength," she murmured, and I realized we'd become each other's. Now, 20 years into our marriage, Mira is still my whirlwind. Her hair is streaked with silver, her hands still carry paint,